in Vrindavan, that he should learn the style of kirtan that was shown by Akinchana Krishnadas Babaji. So like today in class, it was talking about this type of Babaji's. Prabhupada mentioned that Krishnadas Babaji himself, and Krishnadas Babaji came to see Prabhupada in the last days in Vrindavan. So it was very nice. He actually came in 1979. He came to the Krishna Balaram temple and actually did a very nice program there and sang wonderful kirtans and bhajans. And so this is one of them. So for a long time, devotees didn't know who was the actual author of these prayers. So it's mentioned actually is that the first time that the devotees who did research, they found out that this person was, there's an article here that was on dandavats.com, and it was called Some Information on the Author of Sri Kevala Ashtakam. So Kevala Ashtakam is not actually an Ashtakam, 8 verses, but a Shatakam, 100 verses. The author is a person named Nilakant Goswami. Now, this is also connected with the Vishva Vaishnav Sabha that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and it's mentioned here. It mentions about the verse. Nilakanta Goswami, he was the Acharya of the newly founded Vishva Vaishnav Sabha in Sarkar Lane, Calcutta. It was the same Vishva Vaishnav Sabha that was founded by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the April of 1885. In his articles in Sri Sajjana Toshini, 2nd and 3rd years, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes the activities of the Vishva Vaishnav Sabha situated in Sakar Lane 66, Korabagan, Kolkata. In one of them, he mentions Nilakant Goswami as the Acharya of the Sabha. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a member, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as you know, he had very few disciples. But this Nilakant Goswami was actually initiating disciples, and he wrote these prayers. So I'll just get into reading some of these prayers. There's actually 8 of them. They're very nice and sweet. So the first one is Madharamba Direbhyopi, Mangalebhyopi Mangalam, Pavanam Pavanebhyopi, Harinami Vikevalam. More sweet than other sweet things, more auspicious than other auspicious things, the greatest purifier of purifying things, the holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. I mean, so there, you just, when you see that, you go, whoa, more sweet than other sweet things. So, there's been many, because Krishna is non-different than his name. Namachintamani Krishnas, Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, Purnasudho Nityamukto, Bina Tvam Namanamino. It's mentioned in Padma Purana, mentioned also in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that the name of the Lord, holy name of the Lord, is actually the source of all rasa, and it's also just like a kalpaviksha tree. It's complete, pure, and it is non-different than Krishna, and it's Bina Tvam Naminamino. The name is non-different than Krishna. So the thing is that Krishna and his name are non-different. We all know that, we're aware of that, but how often are we really appreciating when we chant our japa, you fall asleep. That means we don't have a taste, we don't have ruchi for that name. And when I say ruchi, I'm not talking about when you're situated actually in the stage of ruchi. I'm talking about just having a taste. So this is the reason why we have to remember the wonderful aspects of the holy name. So the second verse, so here for sweetness, there's a few verses in the Arunadhara Kirtan by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The translation, drink the pure nectar of the holy names of Krishna and thus satisfy the soul of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur wanted to see the Western disciples coming to Mayapur, joining together, doing kirtan, and he said, when will that day be mine, when they actually come to Navadvip? Also, another translation is, there's nothing except the holy name to be had within all the 14 worlds, and it has filled full the soul of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So there's a few verses here. Adandaika Shuka Shriman Shamala Kamala Lochanaha Gokulananda Nanda Nandana Krishna Iryate. Quote, it is only the lotus-eyed Nanda Nandana, Sri Shyama Sundar, the nectarine embodiment of bliss, who bestows bliss to the residents of Gokul, and who's referred to as Krishna, the all-attractive one. So this is part of the aspect about the bliss of the holy name. And also there's the verse that pujaris recite, Shri Guru Paramananda Premananda Phalaprada Vrajananda Pradhananda Sevayama Niyojaya. That my dear spiritual master who gives the fruit of the highest bliss, the bliss of love of Godhead, please engage me in the blissful service of Sri Krishna, who bestows bliss upon the land of Raj. So Krishna, he's actually the Akilam Rasamrita Murti. He's actually the source of all this sweetness and nectar. Then another verse is, Krishir Bhu Vachakaha Shabdo Nascha Nivritta Vachakaha Ta Yor Aikyam Param Brahma Krishna Iti Abidhiyate. The verbal root Krish means all attractive. And the word Na means blissful. The combination of these two syllables refers to Sri Krishna, the embodiment of bliss, of the all-attractive Param Brahma. That's from Gopal Guru Goswami, who's one of the acharyas in the Gaudiya Vaishnav line, in our line. Then also there's one other verse here that says when it's broken down on the actual words for bliss, it's referring to, this is from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He says, Hey Hare, Machitam Hritva Bhava Bandhanam Mochaya. Oh Hare, please captivate my mind. So one of the points of the holy name is to attract your mind to Krishna. Mama Mana Mandire. You want the mind to be attracted to Krishna. So please captivate my mind and release me from material existence. So that's the potency of the holy name. It releases you from the contamination of material existence and the material attachments. Hey Krishna, Machitam Akarsha, oh Krishna, please attract my restless mind toward you. So the devotee is praying like this. This is part of the Hare Krishna mantra. These are more detailed explanations, like this one's by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Then the next one is, O Hare, Swa Madhuryena Machitam Hara. O Hare, captivate my mind with your innate sweetness. And then the last one is, Hey Krishna, Swabhakta Dwara Bhajana Jnana Danena Machitam. O Krishna, please make my mind pure with the knowledge of devotional service as given by your devotees who understand the science of devotion. So this is part of the aspect of this sweet holy name, which is I'm describing here according to this Kevala Ashtakam. So the third verse on here, second verse, Abhramastamba Paryantam Sarvam Mayam Jagat Satyam Satyam Parasatyam Harinami Kevalam. That person is a true preceptor, true father, true mother, true friend. Only if they help one to always remember the holy name alone is everything. And also the only thing that is reality, again to say reality. And then the third verse, Saguru Sapita Chapi, Samata Bandavo Pisa, Sikshaya Tat Sarasmartum, Harinami Kevalam. That person is a true preceptor, in other words, guru. A true father, a true mother, and a true friend, only if they always help one to remember the holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. Number 4, Nishvase Nahi Vishvasam, Kadarudo Bhavishyati, Kirtaniya Sodoma, Kirtaniya, I lost my place here. Kirtaniya Mato Balyad, Harinami Kevalam. And that one is, there's no certainty when the last breath will come. Especially, Prabhupada disciples, we're getting this realization, hey, I'm pretty close. Yeah, there's no certainty when the last breath will come and put an abrupt halt to all one's material plans. Therefore, it's important to practice chanting from very childhood. Well, we started later. I started at 17 years old. So luckily, I spent most of my life chanting Hare Krishna. So that was due to Prabhupada's mercy, Krishna's mercy. And then number 5, Harisada Vasetatra Yatya Bhagavata Jana Gayanti Bhakti Bhavena Harinami Vikevalam. Lord Hari eternally dwells in that place where truly exalted spiritually advanced souls sing in the mood of pure devotion. The holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. Then number 6, Aho Dukam Mahadukam Dukkha Dukkha Taram Yataha Gachartam Vishvatam Ratna Harinami Vikevalam. Aho, what a sorrow, what a great sorrow, more painful than any other misery in this world, mistaking it as a mere piece of glass. The people have forgotten this jewel. The holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. So Bob Dylan, when he was at that time associating with the devotees, he said, I'm living in a world of fiberglass looking for a gem. So that is the idea, is that's what's being mentioned here, is that people are mistaking the holy name for a mere piece of glass. And that's why when we go out and we're chanting, some people are attracted due to their piety or for karma fall from the previous life, or just instant in this lifetime they're getting their first choice to hear the holy name. That's why Prabhupada is saying, whether you chant quietly, you chant loudly, or you even whisper, everybody, the plants, the trees, even subtle beings in the atmosphere, they get purified. That's the potency of the holy name. And then number 7, Diyatam Diyatam Karno, Niyatam Vachaha, Giyatam Nityam Harinami Vikevalam. It says it should be heard again and again with one's ears. It should be uttered over and over again with one's voice. It should be eternally sung and sung anew. The holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. So that's it, is that we constantly want to be chanting the holy name of the Lord in one way or another. There was one god sister in San Diego. I don't remember her name. She was a real big lady. But she had it where she could hear the holy name 24/7 in her head. Just like you hear it, she could hear it all the time in her head. And so the thing is, she's passed away now, but just imagine that. Eventually you'll be hearing the holy name all the time, like a constant loop. And then number 8 says, Trinikritya Jagat Sarvam Rajate Sakaloparim Chidanandamaya Sridam Harinami Vikevalam. It makes the entire universe seem insignificant as a blade of grass. It splendorously reigns supreme over all. It is full of eternally divine conscious ecstasy. It is supremely pure. The holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. So that is showing where the holy name is so potent. And it's hard for us to sometimes understand. That's why the importance Prabhupada had of us chanting 16 rounds a day. We can never understand with our material mind how important it is to chant every day 16 rounds. Prabhupada first said 64. Lord Chaitanya said, if you don't chant 64 rounds, you're not human, you're an animal. So the thing is that we're headed in the right direction due to the mercy of the Guru Kripa, is that he's actually given us. We couldn't even chant 32 rounds. So Prabhupada said, okay, at least 16. None less. So that is what's always been promoted in ISKCON, is chanting 16 rounds, no less. Is that, of course, it takes time to come up to that level because, the holy name kind of rattles your head. So it takes time to come up to the point of chanting 16 rounds a day, but you have to do it. That is the basis, the headquarters of all your advancement. Of course, the other, it's like 90%. And then the other, like 10% is association. You have to chant your japa. It's extremely important. And then also is that Jiva Goswami, he had actually written a commentary on this verse of Namachintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Jiva Goswami says, Ekam eva sachidananda rasadi rupam tattvam dvid havir bhutam iti artaha. Sri Krishna Tattva is the non-dual form of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, Advaya Sachidananda Swarupa. He has appeared in 2 forms as Nami, the possessor of the name, the very form of Krishna, and his Nama, his name. So Krishna and his name are non-different. So, Then also the thing is, when devotees are chanting japa, it says one of the ones that's hardest to break, even in my stage, or where I'm at, is that inattentive. Because the mind's always going somewhere, The manoritena, the chariot of the mind, it's always going out, and then you got to pull it back in. Sometimes they're nice thoughts, sometimes they're bad thoughts, sometimes they're sinful thoughts. But you have to pull them in, always with the holy name. That's why sometimes you hear devotees go, Hare Krishna, when they're chanting your japa, and you go, whoa. Because the mind went somewhere they didn't want it to go, and they're trying to pull it back. So that's the one that we really, really have to work on. Once you get the 4 register principles under your belt, the thing is that inattentive chanting is one that is always bothering, always creating trouble, because the mind is just chariot of the mind. It just keeps going everywhere. So the thing is, Prabhupada said, it's okay if you think of Krishna's pastimes during your japa. There's no harm in that. You see, because they say, well, wait a minute, what's the difference? You're thinking of Krishna's pastimes, you're thinking about the service I got to do in the temple. But it's better to focus on Krishna's pastimes, if you can, when you're doing your japa. Also, it's just like, if you're trying to catch 2 rabbits, you're going to lose one. You're going to lose both. Because the thing is, if you're going to chase a rabbit, you can only go after one rabbit. My daughter used to have rabbits, so I know what it's like. You can only go after one at a time. You can't go after 2. So if your mind is in 2 places at once, you're hearing Hare Krishna at the same time, your mind's out there, and the thing is, you're going to lose both. I mean, there's benefit, but you're not getting the full benefit of chanting japa. That's why sometimes if you just focus on the name when you're chanting your japa, sometimes all of a sudden you're done with one round in 5 minutes. And you go, how did I do that? And then other times it takes like 9 or 10 minutes, and you go, I thought I was listening. So you try it, you'll see yourself. So also, chanting japa is also Nam Sankirtan. Huh? Yes. From Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 15, verse 7. Nam Sankirtan, this is in reference to Lord Chaitanya. The translation is, he would chant on his beads. So that's also referring to Nam Sankirtan. It's also mentioned here, I have many quotes. There's actually like a page and a half. I'll just mention some of them. Sankhya Nam Sankirtan. So it says Sankhya Nam Sankirtan. Clearly refers to Haridas Thakur chanting japa. CC, Antya Lila, chapter 3, verse 240. Antya Lila, chapter 4, verse 101. Nam Sankirtan is referring to Haridas Thakur chanting 300,000 names a day. See, Haridas Thakur, he would chant in 3 different ways. So I don't remember the exact order. Maybe someone else remembers here. But it's softly, and then there's the little louder, and then the third, very loud, because then the whole atmosphere, everything is getting affected by it. People walking by, the animals are hearing it, the trees are hearing it, the grass is hearing it. Then also, in Madhya Lila, chapter 18, verse 80, it says, Nam Sankirtan refers to Lord Chaitanya chanting apparently by himself. So that's another way it's also used. And then also it's mentioned, Nam Sankirtan referring to Lord Chaitanya chanting by himself in his room, Antya 19, verse 57. And then also Madhya Lila, chapter 11, verse 185. Nam Sankirtan refers to Haridas Thakur apparently chanting by himself. I mentioned that one earlier. Okay. So anyway, that gives you the right idea. And then also Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada is also mentioned. Well, here's one first from Namachintamani. It says, only by continuous chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra can the 10 offenses against the holy name be obliterated. Another advantage of constant chanting is that the 10 offenses will not be able to again implicate the chanter. So if we have a very strong desire to chant in a pure way, you'll also receive help from the Super Soul and also from your Guru Maharaj. These 2 will actually help you to try to chant more purely. And also it's mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Lord Chaitanya personally instructed all the people of Navadvip to chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning that is because I was in Vrindavan, and there's one group who say, the Nitya Gaura Radhe Sham, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. The thing is that they say that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's no mention of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra being chanted. You see, and so the thing is that I looked and I didn't see it either. But it's in Chaitanya Bhagavat directly. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says it's Hari Harai Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. And that's what it mentions that Lord Chaitanya was doing. Of course, we know that he was also chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, because that was the main propagation. So this Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Kanda, chapter 23, verse 76 to 68. That's where it's mentioned. The Lord Chaitanya instructed everyone to chant the whole Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Now, Bhaktisanta Saraswati Thakur says, Japa must be heart deep and not only with the lips, like something mechanical. Bhaktivinoda Thakur called it saying your ABCs. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. You want to say it with meaning, with feeling. Okay? In other words, chanting with the heart is our goal. Then Srila Prabhupada says 90% of our advancement is dependent on chanting. Then for Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Leela, chapter 20, verse 18, Lord Chaitanya declares, he says, regardless of time and place or any rules and regulations, one who chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra continuously, even while eating or sleeping, attains all perfection. Also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Leela, chapter 3, verse 137, it says that Haridas Thakur instructed the prostitute, chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra continuously, render service to Tulasi Devi plant by watering her and offering prayers to her. And this way you'll soon get the opportunity to be sheltered at the lotus feet of Krishna. So, chanting your japa, your 16 rounds, in front of Srimati Tulsi Devi, okay? And then following the Fargata principles, you'll make rocket advancement. It takes time, but be patient. But it's very easy. That's why we're doing it every day. Prabhupada instructed that. Every day you chant in front of Tulsi Devi. Try to chant all your rounds in front of Tulsi Devi. She's there to give us full benediction. Okay, so let's talk about some Prabhupada nectar. And also, I want to encourage you devotees. See, here, it's nice. So many devotees, they actually want to get initiated. And this is very nice, very important. Because it's mentioned, this verse that I'm going to read, is mentioned in Padma Purana, Uttarakhand. It's also quoted in the Prameya Ratnavali by Baladev Vidyabhusana, chapter 8, verse 6. It's quoted by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Sajjana Tosani, 1892, volume 4, 1. Also quoted by Bhaktisanta Saraswati Thakur in O Brahmana Vaishnav, that book, wonderful book. So, Tapapundra Tatannama, Manto Yagyascha Panchamaha, Amihi Panchasamskara, Paramaikantya Hetavaha. These 5 samskaras, namely tapa is when you see Sri Vaishnavas, they burn the chakra into the body, but Lord Chaitanya said, no, just take chandan. So you take one of the stampers and you put chandan, that's tapa, okay? Pundra, tilak. Okay, Nam, that's when you're going to get first initiation for you devotees who are getting initiation on Sunday. Then also mantra. Mantra is referring to Upanayana or Gayatri. And Yaga, and this is also devotion when you're actually doing deity worship. So the thing is, it says, these are the causes for attaining the highest stage of unalloyed devotional service. Because sometimes you see some devotees saying, oh, Hare Krishna mantra, you don't have to get initiated to do that. You can just chant. That's true, but you won't make accelerated advancement. Prabhupada gives the example of if you want to go to an 18-story building, you can go up the steps. Yeah, you'll get there. Or you can take the elevator. So in Krishna conscious and ISKCON, we take the elevator. We go up quickly. So, okay, so now back to talking about some Srila Prabhupada nectar. I'll just start from the point of talking about when I was working on, back in 1978, in March or April, I was in Bombay, And Petit Udarana, the astrologer, because there's two Petit Pavans. He's Petit Pavan, Petit Udarana. He asked me if I would go and if I was interested in interviewing people for Prabhupada's biography that South Troop was working on. I said, sure. Because I was in the BBT Library Party at that time in India. And I saw this as a new opportunity because, you just go around with a tape recorder and you travel over India. So I went to, it's like, yeah, I'll take it. So so there was one gentleman. Now, any Indians here, Indian bodies, don't get offended. This is Prabhupada speaking. This Indian gentleman, I went to interview him in Delhi. And he was one of the publishers that was going to be involved in publishing Prabhupada's books. So when I approached him, he was a middle-aged man, and he had a heavy look on his face. And I thought, oh no, what now? What do we do now when he's going to blast me about? So then what I did is I just said, okay, I'm going to tolerate this. So I sat down and he said, your spiritual master wanted to publish his books with me. He said, and you know what he told me? I told him that, Swamiji, you're trying to get some support, some followers. You should preach in Hindi. Prabhupada said, I did that. And then he said, you preached in Bengali? I did that. He said, so what about English? He goes, I'm doing that here, but no one's interested. So Prabhupada said, you Indians are, and this is Prabhupada speaking. He said, you Indians are like crows. He said, you're always going after the refuge of the Western world. He said, so what I will do, I will go to the West, I will establish this movement, I'll come back to India, and then you'll take it. So it's like, so then another time, there was also Acharya Prabhakar. That's the first disciple of Srila Prabhupada in India, Acharya Prabhakar Mishra. Now, he was also a Sanskritist. This was in Jhansi, Madhya Pradesh at that time. I don't know if it still is. Jhansi. And he actually had a dream of Prabhupada before Prabhupada came, and Prabhupada said he dreamed about him. So when they finally met together, Acharya Prabhakar was saying, oh, you've come. And Prabhupada said, oh, you're here. So he became the first disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And so they would do kirtan. He said sometimes Prabhupada would do kirtan. He would just keep going and going for days doing kirtan. He was, samadhi. And so one time, in 1954, it was Janmashtami, Acharya Prabhakar Mishra had to go to Delhi. And so he went and he came back. And when he came back, he saw Srila Prabhupada bouncing all around the temple room. And he had this long garland around his neck. He's bouncing around the temple room. And he goes, Swamiji, he says, where did you get this garland? This is a heavenly smell. Where did you get this? And Prabhupada was just in ecstasy. He was just bouncing around the temple room chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, kirtan, and just going around. He wouldn't pay any attention. He was in samadhi. So the next day, which was, of course, Nandotsava, Acharya Prabhakar asked him, so Swamiji said, I saw you last night dancing in the temple room, like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. And he said, you had this garland around your neck. The smell was very heavenly. He goes, and there was kandamba flowers on it that were as big as baseball, as big as tennis balls, he said. Now, kandamba flowers are usually, about this big, maybe this big, but not this big. And the smell was tremendous. And Prabhupada said, he said, I had some feeling for Krishna. And then he appeared before me, and he gave me this garland, his garland, and then I bowed down, and then he disappeared. So Prabhupada right there, he was seeing Krishna face to face. And also Prabhupada told Ramaswara that one time Prabhupada was being interviewed, and the interviewer said, so Swamiji, you see God? And Ramaswara said, he said, no, he sees God like, in different ways. And Prabhupada said, no, directly. I'm seeing God, and it's like, So Prabhupada was admitting, that, I see God directly. And another time after Prabhupada had passed, Prabhupada had asked Acharya Prabhakar to come to Vrindavan and run the Gurukula. Oh, I'll go back to that. Okay. You see this? This is another pastime of Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, if my devotees in Vrindavan, if my devotees are drinking from the cup during class, he said, my God, he said, the Vrajvasis will start criticizing. Oh, because they're drinking from the cup and then they're reading Bhagavatam. Because the thing is, it's understood that if you're speaking Bhagavatam and then you touch this to your lips, then this is contaminated, your hand's contaminated. Like when they would go on, the devotees would go on parikrama, they always had 2 bottles. One bottle was for drinking, and the other bottle was for achman, to purify your hands like that. So the thing is, that's why you always see Prabhupada drinking like that, holding it up and then drinking it like that, because nothing's contaminated. So these are part of and also when Prabhupada in Vrindavan, near the end, when his godbrothers came to see him, Pradyumna was in the room, and all the sannyasis and the GBCs, and when Prabhupada's godbrother sannyasis walked in, is that the only one who bowed down was Pradyumna. And then Prabhupada said to his godbrothers, oh, please forgive me, my disciples, they don't know sadachar, proper behavior. So, because, the thing is, we're at that time, a lot of devotees, we were just preaching. We were preachers. We were just trying to chant 16 rounds and get up to go to Mangalartik. But the thing is that if one does not actually offer obeisances to a sannyasi, even a Mayavadi sannyasi, it's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, then one is supposed to fast for the day. You see, so it's very important that one shows the proper etiquette. Prabhupada wanted devotees to learn the proper etiquette of how to act. It's called the Vaishnava Sadachar. Lord Chaitanya mentions in Chaitanya Charitamrita the importance of keeping the Vaishnava etiquette. And so there's many devotees here that know the etiquette, and they can also teach it to others. And sometimes at first it sounds like a lot of details, but it can actually be very helpful in one's behavior, because then you know how to act. And you always have to remember that you're a disciple of your guru. So as a disciple, you're representing your guru. So you have to be very careful how you act in all circumstance. Now, in Atlanta, I was there when Prabhupada came there. Of course, there was New York. Let's just start with New York. Is that when Prabhupada would fly into the airport, the devotees we were just crazy to say the least. There'd be 200 devotees. They would come from all over the East Coast or even Chicago to come and meet Prabhupada in New York Temple in Henry Street. And when Prabhupada would come there, the devotees would be rushing to the airport. Sometimes they'd get in their car, and Prabhupada would be in this car, and the devotees would be on each side, and and Prabhupada noticed. He said, tell them to slow down, because it's dangerous. You're just trying to keep up with your spiritual master on the freeway. It's dangerous, say the least. And so Prabhupada would come in, and devotees, they would come in because at that time they only had a turnstile, not like now. You just would go through it, go like, next person, you'd walk through the metal turnstile, if you know what I mean. And so devotees are just running through it, zip, 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 jumping over it, because it was only about this high. Devotees were jumping over it. Devotees were going up on the counters of Lufthansa, Delta, running across the counters and then jumping down again. And not proper behavior, people say, what's going on? These people are crazy. They always just run up. And then Prabhupada would come in, and one time one devotee, Prabhupada came in, and everybody would bow down. And this devotee, he got down quick, got up and said, shine, Srila Prabhupada, shine! And Prabhupada gives a big 10,000 watt smile, So, here's another one. Have you ever heard of the Floaters Club? The Floaters Club. What's that? So, there's different devotees that have seen Prabhupada floating. Yes, floating. Not high off the ground, but real close to the ground, but not quite on the ground. Oh, wait, I better tell this one first. Jamuna, she was walking with Prabhupada in snow. And as she's walking, she looked back and saw her own footprints. And she looked over at Prabhupada, and there's no footprints. And she said, Prabhupada, you're not leaving footprints. Prabhupada said, you will learn all of this. So back in when Prabhupada came to New Vrindavan, afterwards he came to New York, to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We were staying at it was a mansion. We rented it, and the neighbors. This is a high-class neighborhood, and here are the Hare Krishnas with their psychedelic painted buses, and these cars that are falling apart. And we're there in the neighborhood, and the neighbors didn't like it. Anyway, we were going to perform for Srila Prabhupada. These were rock songs written by Mangalananda and Jamadagni. And very, very wonderful songs, the words, the lyrics are very beautiful. And so we were in the Surya Mas. There's an actual lecture called Surya Mas Lecture by Srila Prabhupada, and then it was when he was there. So we're on the stage, and we're playing this rock music. Jagakaru, spiritual master of the universe. And then Prabhupada, he's coming down. Now the seats are like this. We're like in the middle. And so all the seats are coming down at this angle. And as Prabhupada's coming down, everything's black and the spotlight is on him. And I'm playing drums and Atendria's playing drums. And then, of course, we had the different devotees. I'll mention their names. And so I'm playing drums, and then I'm seeing this. I look at Atendria, and Atendria, I go, you catching this? He goes. So then afterwards, because Prabhupada was coming down like this, and so afterwards we all got together, the band, and we go. This was Mahaprabhu on flute. This was Mangalananda on guitar, Gariyan on the bass, and then Aja was one of the singers, and Vishnjan Naraj at that time. And so we said, did you see Prabhupada is floating? He's floating down. We saw it, yeah. So we just wanted to confirm, we weren't going crazy. So then another time, Satyanarayan, who Maharaj mentioned in class today, Satyanarayan, Prabhupada was coming up an escalator. They go up like this. And when Prabhupada came up, when you get to the surface, you know how you kind of have to adjust to the gravity because you're moving along quickly, and all of a sudden, so when Prabhupada came up, he just kept floating a little bit above the ground, the tile. And he saw it, he bowed down, he saw it. And then also the Sureshwara, he saw Prabhupada also coming off an escalator. And he also saw Prabhupada floating like that. And so the thing is that Prabhupada wasn't doing this to attract anyone. He just did it because he was able to. So, that's some of the potency, because these different mystic powers are already there in us. That's why you see some devotees, one of the mystic powers is that you can actually convince people by your speech. So Tripurari used to do that. So, gotcha. So different devotees, they have that ability, and they're empowered by the Lord to do this. Because it's already in you. It's a matter of just it being redeveloped or reconnected. Also, when Prabhupada, so when I got first initiation, afterwards, the devotees had been in the room, and afterwards we would go out. And afterwards, I was very young, stupid. And I asked Pradumna, I go, what does my name mean? And he goes, oh yeah, Bahuśira. He could say it. He was a Sanskritist. And I said, oh, okay. I said, but what does it mean? He goes, not to say Ishvarata Rupa, And I'm like, but what does it mean? So he said, go ask Prabhupada. It's kind of like, you little guy, get out of here. So then I go to Prabhupada and I go bow down. Everyone just left the room. And I bowed down, and then I got up, and then Prabhupada said, I have a question. Prabhupada said, yes. I said, what does my name mean? And he goes, what is your name? And I said, Bahuśira. I tried to pronounce it. I couldn't pronounce it. And he goes, Bahulashva. Bahulashva, Bahulashva. He's going into ecstasy, and I'm like, oh my God. Because nobody told me how to act in front of the spiritual master when he goes into ecstasy. And at first, I go, Prabhu, I know about Lashva. You taught me how to play cartels. And then something inside says, shut up. And then Prabhu just keeps going like this into ecstasy. And so then I was afraid. I bowed down and I got out of there. Because I didn't know how to handle it. Nobody told me, oh yeah, by the way, if the spiritual master goes into ecstasy, yeah, just watch him, So anyway, Yeah, new devotee, right? So then also when Prabhupada was in Atlanta, when he came to Atlanta, there were some very wonderful things, and they're on tape. And when Prabhupada first came there, he saw Gaur Nitai, and he was the shortest introductory lecture that practically there is. It's just like a few minutes. And Prabhupada, and then all of a sudden he gets off the Vyasasana, he just starts walking out. If you've ever been to Atlanta, there's 3 buildings. So the middle building was the temple, and the Prabhupada started walking out the door and going back, and then Brahmananda and Tomar Krishna are going, what's going on? Is he going to pee? Where's he going? Because it didn't make any sense. It's like, okay. We have a whole program here. Where'd Prabhupada go? So Prabhupada left, and so we go, okay, so he'll be back tomorrow, we were told. So when Prabhupada came back tomorrow, then he gave this wonderful lecture about Gaur Nitai. And he said, we're going to learn a song. He starts singing. Parama Karuna Pandijan Nitai Gaura Chandra. And then, refrain. You don't know this? Oh, we know. We didn't know. No, not you guys. No. Prabhupada was saying to the audience of devotees, he said, you don't know this? And the devotees are like, never heard it before, So the Prabhupada said, so everyone get their songbooks. Tomorrow we will sing this. So the next day, then Prabhupada, he's on the Vyasasana. We have our books. We're looking. And then Prabhupada started, Parama Karuna. And he's starting to go through the song. We're refraining. And then he tells Shruti Kirti, stop the tape. Rewind. Give me Madanga. And the devotees are going, Tomar Krishna goes, Madanga? He hasn't played Madanga on the Vyasasana in years. Give him a Madanga, So they gave one Madanga to Prabhupada, and it was just dead. Then they gave him another one, is a little better. Now, this isn't the first time. I always thought for years that this was the first time that Prabhupada sang Parama Karuna. He first did it in Venezuela. Because my god sister, she told me, Prabhupada did it there first. Same thing, Parama Karuna. So he did it there, then he came to Atlanta and did it. And then after that, of course, is that the devotees sing that every day to Gaur Nitai. Very beautiful. And so there also is that when Prabhupada was, that's when also Prabhupada was there in February and early March. And you can actually follow the lectures and see how long he was there. I don't remember the exact dating. But this was the appearance of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So when he came in, he saw there was 2 Vyasasanas. And he saw one and he saw the other, and then he goes, no. And Radha Mohan, who made the Vyasasana, goes, oh God, he's dreading it. Prabhupada said, my spiritual master's Vyasasana must be higher than mine. So it's just like, then he's thinking, how am I going to fix this? So anyway, he fixed it. That's the Vyasasana you see in Atlanta Temple now. That's the one that Prabhupada actually was talking about, and it was adjusted, and it's there. And so then Prabhupada, is doing Vyas Puja, the next day, a few days after. He's doing his worship of his guru very attentively to his guru. And then at one point, he's doing the Argya with the conch shell bowl. So Balavanta, they look at each other, bowl? Hari bowl? No, bowl! They go running to the kitchen. And, they're taking too much time, to just get a little bowl. They didn't check the tray before they gave it to Prabhupada. So then Prabhupada's there, and he's just... So Tulsi Devi's about right where this stand is. And Prabhupada just goes... He flicks it, and it goes all the way into Tulsi Devi. And all the devotees, Jai Prabhupada! Because they saw it. They said, well, this is the defying gravity. It's like, wow. Ecstatic. So then, another time Prabhupada was on the Vyasasam. Paramahamsa, Swami at that time, was leading kirtan. Brahmananda was there, Toma was there. And the devotees would run to the altar. And then they'd run back to Prabhupada. Then they'd run to the altar. The temple room's packed, right? And Prabhupada starts going like this with his kartals. And then the devotees are like, oh, we shouldn't do that. And then later on, because we just kept doing kirtan, but later on, we thought about it. We said, okay, makes sense now. When you run to the altar, you have your back to Prabhupada. And then when you run to Prabhupada, you got your back to the altar. So, then they start doing the crab step, doing the sideways. And so then it was like, okay, we learned that lesson. We got it. So then it was that's also where I got my second initiation with Vaishnavananda. So this was 1975. First initiation was December 1972. I got my letter, and then the first initiation was done in New York. So I went up to get my thread, my Upanayana, and Shruti Kirti was there. He said, take your shirt off. I took my shirt off, and he put the thread on me. I didn't know, So I walk in, and Prabhupada said, who put that thread on you? I passed the buck, Shruti Kirti, Prabhupada says, it's all right, just sit down. So Prabhupada's right here. He's right here. And I sat down like this, because he has to say it in my right ear, the mantra, the Gayatri mantra. So I have my paper, right? And I'm going, he says, repeat after me. Om, Bor, Bor. And after I went through a few, Prabhupada says, just listen to the tape and practice it. It's just like, get out of here. So then I went up, and then Prabhupada's right there, and then I bowed down right in front of him. I'm only this far away from him. And then I get up, and he says, you have any questions? And I just look into his eyes. I lost it. Start crying like a baby. And I just offered my obeisances and got out. Because, the thing is, Prabhupada's eyes, he had so much potency in his eyes. It's just mystic power in his eyes. Devotees have written about it. So the thing is that I experienced it directly. So it was just like, they're like fathomless, just deep black, like burning coals. And just, And plus also, it's happened to many devotees that they'll have it where, you just... And you go to Prabhupada and you have some question, and he just, it just falls away. So anyway, we'll stop here, 12:15, 12, and the kirtan now, and then 12:30 is the next devotee. Hari Bol. So Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai. Or if there's any questions until... Or kirtan, take it away. Who wants to lead? Would you like to lead Paramapada? Oh, okay, yeah, okay. I guess, yeah.
Prabhu will lead Paramapada.
I'm being asked, Oh, because you have Gaurnitai here, so yeah.
Yeah. It's on there.
Yeah, okay. You may want to, yeah, it's right there, okay.
We just have one announcement.
Yeah, please.
Hare Krishna. So, if devotees would like to meet with Maharaj, kindly meet Nitya Gaur Prabhu. You can schedule a meeting with Maharaj and by contacting him. Hare Krishna.
Parama Karuna Paundrija Nitai Gaura Chanda Parama Karuna Paundijan Nittai Gaura Chanda Sabhavatara Sharo Shiromani Kevala Ananda Kanda Bajo Bajo Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sujita Vishvasa Kari Bajo Bajo Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sujita Vishvasa Kari Vishaya Chadiya Serasi Majiya Muke Bolo Hari Hari Vishaya Chadiya Serasi Majiya Muke Bolo Hari Hari Dekawari Bhai Tribhavani Nai Amona Doyala Data Pashupaki Jore Pashana Vidore Shuni Janra Guna Gata Samsara Majiya Rohila Poriya Sipade Nahiro Asha Apana Karama Bunjaya Shamana Kahe Oyochana Kasa Apana Karama Bunjaya Shamana Kahe Oyochana Kasa Parama Karune Padunidan Nitai Gaura Chanda Parama Karuna Bahundidan Nitai Gaura Chanda Sabhavatara Sharo Shiromani Kevala Ananda Kanda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Gaura Hare. Jai Sacinandana, Jai Sacinandana, Jai Sacinandana, Gaura Hare. Jai Sacinandana, Jai Sacinandana, Jai Sacinandana, Gaura Hare. Jai Sacinandana, Jai Sacinandana, Jai Sacinandana, Gaura Hare. Haribo, 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 Haribo. Nisago Haribo, 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 Nisago Haribo. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Chicago, Haribo, 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 Chicago, Haribo. Chicago, Haribo, 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 Chicago, Haribo. Go to Premanande. Jai Nichalila Vishnam Vishnabad Paramsa Paravachikachai Shri Shiman Abhachan Narivinda Bhaktivedanta Swam Srila Prabhupada K. ISKCON BBT BI Samstapakachai Srila Prabhupada K. Assembly devotees Ki Jai Anatikoti Vaishnavinda Ki Namachai Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Babes Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Paramahansa Shri Radhika Radha Savasati Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Jamunimai Ki Bhakadeva Ki Vrindav Ki Das Maharani Ki Anatikoti Vaishnavinda Ki Gratrai Shima Bhagavatam Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Kirtan Fest Ki Go to Premanande, all glory, some devotees, all glory, some devotees, all glory, some devotees, all glory, Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hari Hari Bo. Namam Shnubadaya, Krishna Bastaya, Bhutale. Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Namaste, Saraswati Devi.
Jaya Jaya Shri